Jimmy, I gotta take a dump.
What?
No, I mean I need a dumpster.
Well, for all those needs, you need to call Big V Dumpster Rental, Long Island, New York, 631-900-DUMP. The Monty and the Pharaoh Show is brought to you by...
Because wine is your second favorite four-letter word. California wine, New York attitude. Good fucking wine.
Yeah.
This would be workers. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Uh-huh. I got you. That's
Anyway,
the legalities of it.
Let's talk a little wrestling, my friend.
Yeah.
So, the Wyatt Sick6. Again, I didn't know they changed this because at first it was Wyatt 6 on X, right? It was Wyatt with a 6. Now they changed it to Sick6. So Bo Dallas is Uncle Howdy. Nikki Cross, they're saying is Sister Abigail. I'm not so sure it's accurate, so don't hold me to that. Eric Rowan is Ramblin' Rabbit.
Right.
Joe Gacy is Huskus.
Right.
The pig. And Dexter Loomis is Mercy the Buzzard. So they made their debut on Raw. What were your thoughts about this debut?
I thought the presentation was amazing. I thought it was excellent as far as its look and its feel and the presentation and the costumes. I thought it was great. I really did. I thought that they did a great job with it. We talked about it on the phone during the week. That's WWE Production. That's something that Tony Khan should, we've said it last week, even on the show, Tony Khan should sit down and think long and hard about his production. That is something only the WWE can currently supply, is what we saw at the end of the show. That was great. I mean, if we're just talking about the segment itself, that was great.
Where do you go from here? So now I agree with you. It was great. Where do you go from here? So my opinion, right? The Wyatt family was, about a cult leader who led some troubled people, and they became the Wyatt family, and they were it was characters that could wrestle and do things. No superpowers. We move on to The Fiend and Alexa Bliss, who has superpowers, and I guess she was Sister Abigail at one point, and maybe she still is. At what point does it just get too hokey? Because, look, I shared with you, man. I always thought Bray Wyatt at best was a serviceable, and I love using your word, serviceable wrestler. Obviously, great character, right? But when he became The Fiend, he no longer was even a serviceable wrestler. It was an impossibility to wrestle in that outfit, and it was awful to me. So what makes it anything different this time around? What are they going to do differently?
I have no idea, because I'm not sure you can sustain this gimmick, because at some point, like we've said on the phone to each other in private, you got to get in the ring. You're going to have to get in the ring and have matches and tell stories. I compare it to, even though it in its debut, it doesn't look that way, but in its end result, it could wind up feeling this way. I used to watch a lot of AAA Lucha Libre at Mexico. And there's so many ridiculous over-the-top gimmicks that at some point you feel like you're watching a clown show or a circus instead of what you tuned in for in the first place. Really good, believable wrestling matchups. You want to have some believability. I don't really think that this is something long-term unless Stephen King comes in and figures out some way to keep these guys, interesting every week. They're going to have to get in the ring at some point. Could you imagine Rowan having to wrestle in that rabbit outfit? I mean, how is this going to sustain itself over months and even years? Right now, that doesn't look too good to me. But we're going to have to wait and see what they have planned. That's all we can really do.
But Jimmy, I'm also a believer in the people who are in the gimmick, right? And I understand sometimes a wrestler will be bad for a long time. They just can't get over, but they find that one gimmick that gets them over. Like, I think about Mean Mark Callis, right? When he was in WCW, right? Even though he wasn't really over there, he still had that, when he was in the, what were they called? The Twin Towers, him and Spivey. I forget what they called their name, but skyscrapers. They were badasses. It wasn't like he wasn't a badass. When he came over to WWE, I recognized him. I'm like, oh, it's Mean. I didn't get upset. I was like, oh, it's Mean Marcellus. But my point is that whole list I read to you are guys that just couldn't even get, like Bo Dallas, to be fair, couldn't get over. Nikki Cross, how many gimmicks did she run through the WWE and can't get over? You know, Dexter Lumis. I never got that character. I mean, you know, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just giving you my opinion.
Right. No, I think you're right. The only thing that I will say in defense of Bo Dallas, because you know I am a fan of his.
Yes,
I am. Bo Dallas, when he was in NXT, was great. Bo Dallas was never presented that way in WWE. He should have been. Bo Dallas has some great, great talents. I don't think that this gimmick you'll see any of them. Not the Bo Dallas that we knew. So and Bo strikes me much less creative than his brother just as a person. Bray was really special. Bray was 1 in a billion.
Right.
And Bo is more of a follower than a leader. Bray thought for himself, obviously, and walked his own path in life, obviously, and walked away from wrestling when his brain wasn't right, obviously. You know, Bo has been happy to tag along in a lot of cases. So I'm really curious as to who's going to be writing the scripts here, because I don't think it's Bo. So who was behind that presentation, and how far ahead have they thought? These are questions I would love to have answers to. You know, until then, we get to just wonder and tune in every week. But, you know, that's part of the magic of the program. You want to know what the hell, you know, the answer is going to be the next week if you have questions. So for now, stay tuned.
I want to get to some questions because there's some interesting questions on the board. So Matt Sharkey, Indian Potato, good questions. Just bear with me because I got something I want to cover with Jimmy real quick.
Yeah.
So right before the Attitude Era, they used to have a show on cable. I don't know if it was TNN or whatever. They used to interview the wrestlers. And it was really on the cusp of the Attitude Era. And I remember Bret Hart being on there, and he was talking about his high respect for The Undertaker, but he felt it was time for The Undertaker to stop with silly gimmicks and just be a badass. And that's when the American Badass came out. I guess someone paid attention to what Hart had to say, or maybe it was just the Attitude Era. So my question to you is this. Considering how great the WWE is now, and Matt, I know you're not a big fan. It's going to be hard for them to win you over, but it hasn't been this good since the Attitude Era, and I'd even say it's better. It's real-life stuff going on. Does this hokey, science fiction, horror, like watered down the WWE product? Like, you know, all of a sudden you see Chad Gable beaten up with blood hanging out of his mouth. It's like, I don't know, man. You're really on this hot road. You got McIntyre, Punk. You got Damian Priest. You know, is this a mistake even doing this?
Good is good, and that was good. If they can continue to make it good, then it'll be good. You can have, you know, I find it hilarious that during the Attitude Era, The Undertaker had to get serious. Some of that crap in the Attitude Era was some of the cheese. I mean, come on, he gave birth to Mae Young gave birth to a hand.
That is true.
He's worried
That is true.
He's worried about whether or not The Undertaker would get over. It was all in the presentation. If something is written well and it suits the characters, then it's going to be good. I'm sure even Sharky will agree. If something's good, it's good.
Well, here's what Sharky says. He says he hopes Vince isn't the higher power of the Wyatt family. I kind of would dig that. That would be pretty cool.
I would love that, but that's me. You know, it was me. It was me all along.
Oh, here's a good comment from someone, Indian Potato. Do you think the WWE will relaunch WCW? Because I feel like this Vice WCW documentary is an open platform. Plus, Conrad asked Eric on his show of this question, and Eric just paused.
They have two brands. They have Raw and SmackDown. Why would they create another one? You know, I don't see the point in it. I really don't. Raw and SmackDown are two different entities, and they join together at WrestleMania, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. WCW, well, it would remind me of when they rebooted ECW. It's not going to be the same. People are going to compare it, blah, 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 blah. hey, if you want to see a really crappy version of WCW, tune into AEW on Wednesday nights.
Wow. Bang with a exclamation point. This week on